Thanks for joining us today. We're super excited to be bringing you another webinar on job placement and getting our students hired. I think this is going to be a really good chat today. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest today. We're just going to have a lot of fun. As always, go in the chat. We welcome questions and compliments. So feel free to chat in there with other people or to chat with us. Judy, it's good to see you again on our webinars. You always bring really great comments. So thanks for jumping in there already. I want to welcome our guests today. We're really excited to be chatting today with Ben and Chad with JobWise. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ben start us off with an intro about himself and the company. Welcome.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Jen. Super excited to be here. Yeah, love Beauty School's marketing group and all that you're doing. We're JobWise. We're based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and have been doing this for a couple of years. This is my second time doing a venture. We have an incredible team that we put together. Have worked with the capital partners with at NFX that were the first money in DoorDash and Lyft. The founder of Trulia is heavily involved. All that is to say, we have some really smart people on our team that we're really grateful to work with. And the vision for JobWise is to better connect job seekers in the beauty industry with employers and schools. Awesome. We'll tell you a little bit more about kind of our background with the schools in a few minutes. But yeah, again, really excited to be here, Jen.
Cool. Glad to have you. And welcome, Chad. Chad is actually how I met JobWise. We were at a conference earlier this year. We ran into each other. And as you guys know, I love bringing vendors on here just to talk about, different companies and what they do and how we all service the same school. So welcome, Chad. Tell our community about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Excited to be here. Yep, been on the team here for a little over a year. And it's been awesome meeting so many people in the salon, well, not salon, but the barbering space, hairstyling space. A lot of schools we've met with at these conferences. So I'm sure we'll see. It looks like we see some people that might recognize us on here. So excited to be here. I'm on the sales team here at JobWise, and happy to share more about what we're doing and how we're helping schools and job seekers.
Sounds great. All right, you guys. So I'm just going to be asking you some very general questions, interjecting when I can. As you guys know, our community has beauty programs, right? So that's anywhere from cosmetology to aesthetics to nails to makeup to barbering. Those are generally the areas that our school serve. I know you also serve other career schools, which is why I was so excited to have you on here, because I also love learning from like what a nursing school would be doing, right? Like what is a vet school doing? Are there any sort of trends you guys are seeing in the hiring space, no matter what type of career school it is, when it comes to connecting them with employers?
Yeah, no, great question, Jen. So the beauty industry, certainly high demand. And I know probably a lot of the participants on today's call have been thinking about the challenges with recruiting. Candidly, it's been a huge problem across the US. So nationally, you're looking at about 3.5 million unfilled technical skills positions. And that is across everything from medical and dental to manufacturing, in auto, in addition to cosmetology, of course. Cumulatively, you're looking at about $1.7 trillion loss to companies across the US. So think about the GDP of Canada. That's the amount of demand that is being unmet right now.
Okay. So
yeah,
it's not just this industry. We're seeing this, of course, across a lot. When it comes to, let's say, like job postings or things that people are looking at, what kind of trends are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have seen what we've tried to do is when we came in initially, we went out and did a lot of discovery with schools. We wanted to better understand the challenges that they were having with placement And I guess we can talk about that briefly now. The background was that we wanted to better understand how we could provide how technology could better serve the space. And we learned from schools that they were tracking job placement in a spreadsheet. It was, very painful, almost universally. All the schools, and we talked to hundreds, if not thousands of schools at this point, that were all doing the same thing. They were tracking job placement in a spreadsheet, doing manual outreach with phone and email and text and Facebook stalking. You've heard the story a million times. And we looked at that and thought, gosh, how can technology do a better job? We felt like the space was underserved from a technology perspective. And one of the things that we wanted to do was, instead of being very reactive and very manual, how could we automate functions and how could we be more proactive? And so I guess the short answer to your question is we looked at how we could engage job seekers, which is to say students and graduates, via text message. It was a much more helpful technology for them. They didn't need to download an app. They didn't need to go proactively to a website. They could simply respond to text messages. And that was helpful not only with the job placement tracking, but as it relates to today's conversation, actual engagement around employment opportunities, whether those be full-time, part-time, or even other shift-based work. So
there are kind of, just so I understand it, it's not just you guys matching a job with a student. You're also taking it a step further, or even maybe just this step of you're going to be that communication between the school, like the liaison to, with that licensed graduate, where you're going to find out where they're working.
Yeah, exactly right. So again, going back to that discovery process, when we were actually going out and talking with schools, there were a lot of ways they may have, a world-class student information system, but on the career services side of things, they weren't necessarily comprehensively meeting with all of their students in an advisory capacity. And so students were slipping through the cracks there. On the job placement side, very commonly, schools were not proactively reaching out to employers. They may invite an employer to a career fair or some kind of a classroom visit, but they weren't managing employer relationships in kind of a central CRM. And the job placement tracking, of course, as we referenced, is also a problem. And then after collecting all that data and cleaning it up prior to pushing it back into the student information system was a big challenge too, super time consuming. And so what we've tried to do is bring all those functions into a single platform. And it's been exciting to see the validation from schools. I think that, again, they have not had good tools from a technology perspective with career services. And so how can we kind of bridge the gap between the schools, the employers, and those job seekers?
So if people are doing this manually, which I'm sure there's a lot of schools that are doing this manually, what kind of mistakes then could be made?
Yeah, I mean, most commonly, you're running into data collection errors. You're not necessarily you're at a high level. You're not being very proactive necessarily. Your schools will be reaching out after graduation and not really trying to anticipate the graduation in placement, but just tracking that placement after the graduation. You have you have data errors integrating back into the student information system. All of those can be challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I love about your platform, which I'm just now discovering, because again, I love to go in blind and not really know what's I didn't get a demo, y'all. So this is sort of just, a high level talk. Text messaging seems to be the way to get a hold of people. So are they just like basically verifying information via text message for you guys?
Yeah, we have, we're using AI, so specifically ChatGPT, to go out and initiate conversations with students throughout their student life cycle. So even from day one, welcoming that student to the school, letting them know, hey, we're ABC, beauty school. We're here to help. as we prepare you through your education and in anticipation of graduation. The school can use the platform to invite students to fill out a profile. They can add experience there. Ultimately, they're going to be adding any of their educational completion as well as licensure information. They can add other portfolio information. So if that's cuts and colors and all that kind of good stuff, but really a way for the candidate to start flexing their muscles and showcasing themselves for potential career opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's step away from the JobWise platform specifically and kind of go back to some questions that are more general when it comes to job placement. You know, as far as when it comes to job postings, because I know a lot of times schools work directly with employers to fill positions, right? Employers are coming straight into a school. Sometimes they have a career fair for these, you know, where they're having, you know, 10 different salons coming in. What kind of thing is it that employers on their side can do to look more attractive to be recruiting students?
Yeah, when schools have asked us this question in the past, our feedback has been the first thing that a school can do is not wait until the career fair to start building relationships with employers. Which is to say, I think a lot of schools they're waiting till April or September or whenever their career fair is, and it's that once or twice a year event. We really encourage schools to be cultivating those relationships throughout the year. Obviously, pay and benefits and location are going to be hugely important for job seekers. But the other big piece of advice would be around culture. And making sure that employers know how important culture is to candidates. Specifically, millennials are going to really gravitate. You'll often hear that maybe a current team member left because of pay, and I think that that's something that employers will tell themselves. To try to make themselves feel better. But the reality is culture is king. And
people leave bosses. People leave bosses, not jobs.
100%. And so there are, we would encourage schools to make that really clear to employers, make sure that employers have good culture in place, that they have good procedures and leveraging technology to make sure that their current team members are happy. How happy would a team member be to recommend this employer to a friend on a scale of 1 to 10? And are they getting the continuing education? Are they growing in their career? Are they really are they thriving or not? Right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes also, Ben, just setting people up for at least the employers for, what this generation is. These you're not going to hire a stylist. They're not going to stay with you for 10 years. It's just not going to happen. I mean,
for sure.
I think these companies know these are new graduates. They're looking to get a little experience on the floor because they probably want to go into a solo salon, their own suite, do their own thing. Entrepreneurship is always the goal of a beauty school student. And so I think if we can be more transparent and realistic, and even setting our students up from the beginning of like, I know you want to own your own salon. I get it. But let's go work in a salon first and, really figure out what your niche is, what you're good at, what you really like doing, and learn some skills, build your clientele before.
100%. Yeah, I think that's super well summarized. And the other, I guess, mistake, if that's your question, that we see employers making, specifically with like job postings, is that we see a lot of employers not, they're very passive in their kind of advertising approach, as opposed to more proactive, like recruiting efforts. And I think this goes back to really a school's responsibility to cultivate relationships with individual employers, really cultivating that network with employers, making sure that it's not the first time that a student sees someone from an employer at the career fair.
Yeah, I agree. We need to start writing job postings like a marketer. go to ChatGPT and say, this is my current job posting. How do I jazz this up and attract a Gen Z type of person, someone who's young
Totally.
and fun? How do I make this sound more conversational? Add some emojis
Yep.
in it. Like, there's so many things we can do to make this a lot more interesting. And sometimes it reads like an accounting job and not a stylist job,
We agree
Yeah.
with you 100%. Yeah, and instead of not only relying on we agree that these job postings employers need to up their game in terms of
Yeah.
presenting a more dynamic post. In addition, we think that it's really helpful for employers to be proactive in outreach. In other words, instead of just fishing for candidates, actually going out and hunting candidates, right? And so this is where building a relationship with the school is important. And there are also technology tools available that will allow employers to do more proactive outreach to candidates, similar to like a LinkedIn recruiter, where they can, for example, like through our platform, employers can do direct outreach to students and graduates. Hey, I don't know if you saw our job post, but we're looking for a stylist, and we think this could be a great fit for you. I saw your background; it's super impressive. Loved your portfolio. When can we chat? Those types of outreaches.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Let's talk a little bit about schools, because right now, you guys, I know that Ben, Chad, you guys know this. I know that a lot of our attendees do. Job placement right now is so critical for schools. With the threat of GE, with the lawsuit that might be coming down, and all the new regulations. A lot of beauty schools right now are being threatened by this. I know AACS recently said that if these regulations do go through, it's estimated 2/3 of schools would go out of, or at least would lose their financial aid, which might cause them to go out of business completely. It's important that we get everyone to work. So how are you seeing that shift with schools? Are you seeing a rise in the emphasis with job placement? Because I sure hope you're saying yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, Cecil Kidd has been fighting the good fight for a long time around this, and I think we're huge fans of what AACS has been doing around combating all of the gainful employment issues. It's terrifying though what you've outlined around 2/3 of beauty schools potentially failing relative to the initiative. So all that is to say, we've seen the trend, obviously, since the Obama administration. Proprietary schools have been in the crosshairs for a long time. Interestingly, though, where we work with both proprietary and public schools, we're seeing an emphasis that much more in the public sector as well, which is to say, candidates themselves are looking for, students and graduates are looking for a return on investment for their education. And what is the best measure of a return on investment other than employment, right? And so it's been, I think, super exciting for us to see where we're the repository for collecting a lot of this information. We're getting outreach from legislators, we're getting outreach from other educational institutions and research institutions that are looking to better understand that placement data. And I think historically, where schools have reported to NACIS or COE or ACCSC with their personal or their school specific job placement data, we're starting to see an emphasis on more kind of industry wide. It's one of the reasons why beauty's been such a challenge, where I think the elephant in the room around placement is a lot of underreported earning. And this is something inherent to beauty that we're not totally sure how to combat. Cecil and I have joked about this many times, but the fact is that many people in this industry underreport, right? And so how do you make sure that legislators are seeing the real data, right?
And how do we make sure that we are teaching our students about how that is just hurting this industry long term? I really feel like there might be more on the education front when it comes to the financial literacy of, you know, once you get on your own, and why it's so important to make sure you're not doing that. But you know, the other side of that is when CUNY came out last year with their salary report, they showed that most people in this industry are working part-time. They're not working 40 hours a week. They're usually working under that.
Yep.
And I mean, admissions people will tell you, you know, a lot of people come in knowing that. They know from the beginning, like, I'm a mom, I'm a single mom, like, I'm not going to be able to work 40, 50 hours a week. They go to beauty school kind of knowing that this either is going to be a supplementary income or a part-time income. So is that a concern for schools?
Yeah, it should be if they're not thinking about that for sure. The reality is, it's an incredible industry, and the opportunities abound relative to employers. Employers are absolutely like starving for talent, good talent. They want
Yeah.
they want to find good students and graduates. There are lots of full-time opportunities. Ideally, all of these employers are looking for full-time. But I also appreciate, I was just on the phone with one of the national chains here within the last week, and their average employee hourly count was around 29 hours. And you're talking over thousands of employees, right? And yet they were good with that, which in the sense that they understood that it was the employer that needed to adapt relative to allowing team members to be more flexible. One of the trends that we've seen in other industries, I know this is one of your earlier questions, and I hope it's okay if I come back to something
Sure.
that we've seen in other industries, is around shift-based work, and sort of gig economy type of
Yeah.
relationships. That's been huge in the medical space. So whether that be like a CNA or an LPN or an RN, they can come in and they call them like travel nurses, where
Sure.
they'll go and basically work in different facilities. Those candidates really like the flexibility of being able to come in and have that shift-based work. And we think it's interesting from an employer perspective as well, in the sense that they're not paying W-2 payroll taxes. They may not have any benefit requirements or any overtime to consider. And so, rough math on that, an employer can pay, call it 130% of like a W-2 hourly wage on a 1099 basis, and it's a win for both the employer and for the candidate.
Yeah, I mean, we see something, of course, similar in the beauty space. I mean, there's a lot of people that get into this business just to do weddings on the weekend, right? They're just going to do
Right.
hair and makeup on a Saturday. And I mean, they're making really great money, but then the brides are Venmoing them, you know, and then that's not going reported anywhere. And so I
Totally.
think, you know, making sure we're setting people up from the beginning, at least in school, of like the importance of making sure you do have a business set up, you're running the payroll to yourself, or any sort of, you know, compliant, you know, it's just, it hurts the industry. And so I think it does start at the education side. When it comes to compliance, Ben, what are schools supposed to be keeping track of? What are the laws?
Yeah. So as it relates to schools tracking job placement, obviously all these schools are accredited with beauty. Most of them are NACAS, but you see COE and ACCSC and other accrediting bodies.
Yeah.
They're required to track placement on an annual basis. As I mentioned, they're often doing that in a very manual way. So what JobWise has done, we've offered a free platform to schools to be able to go and take advantage of these automated tools, take advantage of ChatGPT, have real-time reporting available for their cohort of graduates. And we've seen, again, really good validation our total, if you rewind and look at JobWise here and call it December of last year, January of this year, we were working with maybe 20 schools, and now we're working with upwards of 500 campuses across the US. So really great to see that that schools are enjoying that those benefits.
Well, I know that would definitely take out that manual side. So they're supposed to, on an annual basis, they need to know where all their graduates are going, a certain percentage. What are the rules compliant wise for the beauty schools right now?
Yeah, they need to know if their graduates have gotten found employment within industry, right? And so they're responsible to track all that. Our platform enables again, full automation and also documentation of that information. I know many of our schools are grateful that even if they have turnover at the career services level, all of the information is still within the platform. It's easy to be able to look through a chat history. It's easy to be able to confirm whether that individual, where they are in that process. We've built out integrations also with all the major student information systems.
Okay.
In addition, we've also built out over 90 different integrations with applicant tracking systems and HRIS solutions. And why that's helpful is that the employers, they want to be able to post jobs to a school's job board. We provide the school with this automated job board that's text enabled. That the platform itself will save schools about 75% of the time that they would have spent on historic process. And the job board will create about 30 times more job applications for a job seeker than they would have had otherwise through a more traditional model. So yeah, we're getting, again, really great validation from both the school as well as the employer. I guess forgive me, I should have finished my thought on those applicant tracking system integrations. The benefit there is that an employer wants to be able to post jobs, but often it requires a lot of duplication of effort for jobs that they've already created within their applicant tracking system. And so they can simply enter their Workday credentials or ADP credentials, and we will extract all of those jobs. Again, super powerful for even a small school where they can take advantage of all those integrations at no cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're supposed to be following this stuff, after they graduate. How far out after they graduate? 10 years, 5 years? What are?
Yeah, so most accrediting bodies are just requiring the last cohort of graduates over the last 12 months. Okay. You do see individual states that are requiring longer tracking. So there are states that are requiring, call it 5 and even 10 years of tracking. That's unusual, but we have, I think, a tool that we received the idea from one of the schools. They asked, look, we're not required to track after the first year, but we would still love to know the data. We would love to see those candidates after 5 or 7 years, et cetera. And what we've done is built out an additional functionality where they can go and fully automated. There's no additional work for the school. Simply toggle on the functionality to be able to continue to track those students, and the system will send out periodic text messages. You can collect Net Promoter Score information, which is often beneficial for schools for marketing purposes. Get some great success stories from graduates on how your beauty school helped them with their career. Really, how you were a springboard for launching them.
I love that. So we're able to use this messaging platform, not just for the job placement stuff, but even just strict alum, outreach to get testimonials, referral.
Exactly.
Everyone, just a reminder, we love a referral. If they enroll 50% of the time, they're free. Referrals are really what schools are looking for today, because they want to lower their marketing budget, quite frankly. They don't want to use BSD as much. I don't know why. They should be using us, but people love a referral because you don't have to pay for it. Referrals are great. And schools are really doing a poor job reaching out to their alum. I got to be honest with you. Like, it's such a missed opportunity. And if you're going to go become a hairdresser, the first person you're going to talk about it with is your hairdresser. Like, that's the first place you're going to go, is the person who services you. I had the best facial of my life. Oh my God, where did you go to school? Like, that's going to be a conversation. We need to do a way better job at reaching out to our alum, so we can do that with this platform.
100%, 100%. Yeah, and we agree with you 100. Yeah, you're I mean, you're a natural marketer, Jen. You know the game. But yeah, you need content.
We need to be collecting stories. That's the thing. We need to be sending them Google link surveys to get them to fill out a form. And it's just sort of nice to know where your graduates are working, so that you can bring them in as guest speakers, or, you know, maybe they own a salon and they could hire your graduates.
Yeah, totally. We didn't expect this, but that's a great point you bring up. We didn't expect that our schools would be starting to leverage this alumni outreach tool to start to recruit new instructors as well. So people that have had a good experience.
That is such a good idea. I love that, because that is, by the way, such a struggle right now for schools. I'm hearing it literally everywhere I go. They need instructors. And right now, like, there's the school wars. So like, if you're in a town with a couple schools, you're stealing their instructors. What are they paying you? Like, people are poaching, and then they're running into each other at AACS, and it's super awkward. So it's probably a better idea to go recruit some of your alum to be teachers. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and what a natural way to begin that dialogue too, right?
Yeah.
You're doing outreach. You're just checking in with people. Hey, wanted to see how you're doing in your career. We loved having you as a student here at the school. Let us know how we're doing. And for those graduates that give you a 9 or 10, a follow-up question would be, hey, would you ever be interested in coming back and helping as an instructor? And like, super natural, you know that they're happy. So it's already, they've kind of raised their hand in terms of self-selection of who would potentially be interested in participating. And yeah, it's a win for everybody.
I mean, that's great. And of course, admissions roles, financial aid roles, there's a lot of administrative roles within a school where your alum is a really great place, to find them. Yeah, I'm loving this conversation. I think that's great. So when it comes to the employers on your platform, is it up to the school to go find these, or y'all helping find open jobs in the area?
We do both, and keep in mind, it's a network effect. So the term that they use in technology is a node. Every node that's part of that network is benefiting the overall network. So if your school goes and you invite your network of, let's say, 100 different employers to participate and to post jobs, there's other schools that are also inviting their groups of employers, their networks of employers, to go and post jobs. And at JobWise, we also take on that responsibility. We're doing outreach to employers to invite them to be part of that network. We've built out some really cool tools to help schools. We know that often schools are, they may feel overwhelmed, like, gosh, how do I start with more proactive outreach to employers? I do the career fair every year, but like, what else do I need to know? We've built out some marketing drip so that a school can simply enter in email addresses. All of it is branded for the school, and they can start to cultivate a regular dialogue with.
You should integrate the Crumble Cookie app, so you can just like drop, like, send cookies to different salons. I mean, I think it's a great idea. Flowers, anything like that.
We started in Utah too, so we're very familiar.
Yeah, I'm a huge Crumble Cookie fan. That's like what I send, clients and stuff like that. So I love Crumble Cookie. How are you guys tracking entrepreneurship on JobWise?
Yeah, it's part of our standard process with tracking placement.
Okay.
So yeah, if
it doesn't always have to be linked to a job, it can be linked to an individual, essentially.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially a CRM for both the students and the graduates, as well as for the employers themselves. And so, if a student has graduated, they're now self-employed. All of that is tracked within the platform and supported.
Love that. Well, let's wrap this up by chatting more specifically about the platform. And if people have questions, please drop them in the chat. And then Chad, why don't you go ahead and write in the chat to everyone, at least your website and your contact information, so people know how to get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you to see more how your platform works. But what's the cost here?
Yeah. So we operate. Yeah. Jed, do you want to share this part?
Yeah, happy to do it. Yeah, that's the best part about the platform is for schools, there's no cost for what we're doing. And so
I wish I was selling a product that was free. I think that's amazing. Like
Ben
what
brought me
amazing
on. He's
job.
like, hey, by the way, doesn't cost anything. So I was
like, come on, Chad, if you're not hitting goals when your product is free, like there's something wrong with you. So no, I think that's awesome. I love that it's free for schools. That's great. That's great.
But yeah, no, it's been awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so we operate on a freemium model. So all of the baseline functionality in the same way that you could go and you could sign up for a Gmail account, and that basic email account is no cost. You get whatever it is, 10 gigs of data storage. If you want extra bells and whistles, you can pay for more storage with Gmail. You can pay for additional kind of business services with our platform. We operate similarly, so it's no cost to schools for all the baseline functionality. If we provide you with a corporate, or excuse me, a toll-free number for the school to do outbound text messaging. If a school wants a local phone number, that's one of the premium services they can pay for at a modest cost. If they want additional kind of bulk text messaging, they can do that, but none of, or let me rephrase, all of the job placement tracking text messages included at no cost. And then we operate on the business model is also depends on employers, in the sense that all the employer pricing is freemium also, in the sense that employers can all go and they can post at no cost. If they want that premium advertising sponsorship slot at the top of the page for the job board, they can pay for that. But the vast majority of the schools and employers that we work with just use the platform for free and are really excited.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you guys are going to be at the upcoming AACS conference, which is exciting, in Houston, just a couple weeks ago.
It's true.
Yay. I hope some of the people on this call, I hope some of you webinar attendees are planning on joining, because it really is the only national beauty school convention. There are some states that have, their own, but this is the national one, and it's really great for networking. There's lots of great regulatory sessions. There's also a session led by me. So would love for you to come. The agenda looks amazing. There's a really great time to connect with other school owners. So definitely plan on coming to that. It's going to be in Houston in just a couple weeks. Anything else to share about the platform of JobWise, what you guys are doing, or what's on, anything new coming down the pipeline that you can tell us right here for the first time ever?
Yeah. So we just released a new chat GPT driven resume creator, which we're really excited about. Our product team has been working on that for a little while, and yeah, we're thrilled that it's completed. Students can come on, they can take a photo of their resume, of an existing resume, and we'll use optical character recognition and GPT to upload that and enrich their profile. Or they can go in with this new functionality, and they can enter in education and other information about themselves. ChatGPT will actually create their resume for them using various prompts, and we want to make it
what a time to be alive.
Totally, and we want to make it as easy as possible for job seekers. So
yeah, that's great. I'm excited to see what you guys are doing in this job placement area, because I know that this is something schools need to be better about. And of course, the alumni outreach. There are so many different ways to utilize your platform. So this is super exciting. I'm glad to have had you guys. If anyone has any questions about any of this or anything else, or ideas for future webinars, please drop it here in the chat. And I want to mention to everyone that our October webinar is going to be done through Lead Squared. It is going to be with 4 top executives from the biggest chains in the beauty school space. I'm going to be moderating that. So that's what we're going to be doing next month instead of having our own hosted one. But, you know, we love having different guests on. So if you guys have other topics you want to hear about, please feel free to email me. Of course, Beauty Schools Directory can get you a bunch of leads from now to the end of the year. Our packages start at just $500 a month and gets you a starting rate of around 25 leads a month. So please reach out to me directly if you have other questions about how you can work with us. But it was great having you guys on.
Thanks so much for having us, Jen.
Absolutely. I look forward to running into you guys at more shows, and we will chat in the future for sure. Thanks for being part of today's webinar.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen.